The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Howdy ho, everybody. Come to you cordless from glamorous Minneapolis. It's Monday night, January 26, 2026. I am Jim Peters. Welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night. This is episode number 311, if you're keeping score at home. We've been off almost a week. It's nice to see you folks. Our guest tonight is Michael Letts. He's the founder and CEO of Invest USA. Excuse me, I want to make sure you get that right. It's Invest USA. They're an organization that gives bulletproof vests to law enforcement officers. They've given away over 17,000 of them in the last, I think, 30 to 32 years, and they've had over 7 million people have donated. And you can donate too if you go to investusa.org. And he's also been in law enforcement and has been an operative in Army intelligence and all sorts of stuff. And we're going to put him on now from his home in Columbia, South Carolina. Michael Letts, hi. How you doing?
Doing great, Jim. It's always a privilege to be with you. We appreciate the opportunity. And yeah, I wish we could give you a bulletproof guest.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, Michael, I'm plowing through all your credits here. And the one thing that really fascinated me, I'm going to read this verbatim. His Excellency Count Sir Michael Letts, Chevalier, Knight of Honor of the Imperial Teutonic Order of the Republic of Germany. How the hell did you get that?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Go a little side note here, a little funny story. We were handing out vests. We got a call. We've handed them out across the world, for that matter. We've given them in Mexico and Nicaragua, other places. Now, we always do what I call recycled vests in foreign countries because I'm just trying to raise the money necessary for American law enforcement officers first and foremost. But we got a request from Germany. We were able to fulfill that. About 3 or 4 months of that, I got a call they said that there was a Prince van Valkenburg on the phone from the monarchy of Germany. I thought it was a prank, to be honest with you. I hung up on him.
I believe it. I would too.
They kept calling. They finally got through and said that the monarchy, and I didn't even realize that Germany had a monarchy like
I didn't either. I thought that was defunct. Yeah.
They have a monarchy, and they wanted to honor me, thank me, and knight me. And so we went over there, had the full ceremony. They didn't hit my ear with the sword, so both ears are still intact. I'm grateful for that. But yeah, I'm one of about 120, I think they have total across the world that are knighted by the Teutonic Order of the German government.
That's absolutely fascinating. So you are literally Sir Michael Letts.
That's correct. You know, the funny part about this, Jim, on a different note, but we have gotten calls from both the Teutonic Knight organization and the Templar Knights. They are organizing to create another crusade to try to take back Europe from the Islamic jihadists.
Well, that's interesting, fascinating, and worthy because Germany is in really a pickle right now.
They are. So is England.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The thing is, okay, so let me break this down. England's in a cultural pickle. Germany is in mostly an economic pickle. I don't know if you've been following this at all.
I have.
Yeah. They're not doing well. And it's like, I mean, Trump is absolutely right. The whole thing over there is falling apart in various ways.
And it's the influx of immigration issues that have, allowed so many to come in and try to take over their government that's put them in this mess.
Yeah. Now, I have to remember, I have a lot of people on the show, Michael, can never keep this straight. Someone was talking about, the racial disparities of all this. And I said, and I'm not even trying to be anti-racist here. It's not really a racist thing. It's a racial thing. It's a cultural thing. That's
correct.
And I've always said this, you can't expect good things. A lot of these countries are literally 200 years behind us. I mean,
Correct. They
You
are,
can't.
and of course, the same thing's happening here in America now. We're getting the same experience. They're trying to take over this country as well. I mean, they look what they've done in Europe. It's just interesting to me that when you brought up the night issue, that I would get those calls in the last 30 days saying, hey, with your name recognition, we're trying to spearhead a reorganization of taking back, removing all the illegal immigrants and taking our countries back. My response was, well, great cause. I'm not so sure they are a little late in Europe, but I wish you the best.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of people think Britain might already be too far gone. I mean,
Correct.
it's really sad, and this is all because of a performative guilt. Really, I mean, it's like we have to treat these people, and so blah 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 blah. Let me ask you, what do you think as a law enforcement, former law enforcement officer? What do you think about what's going on in Minneapolis right now? I'm here. This
Oh
is
yeah, well, I think it's very clear. We can work our way backwards, but I think it's very clear with all the fraudulent activities going on, the substantial dollars there. We know Mayor Fry's office is involved. We know his wife's involved. We know that Governor Wallace is involved. His entire administration. They're desperate to seek a way to diffuse this matter, to diffuse justice coming their way. And so, what they've got to do, they were able to pick Minnesota to do so, is let's paint law enforcement as the boogeyman. We're the bad people. Doesn't make any difference whether it's ICE. ICE is easier to pick on because of the fact they tried to frame the argument that we're just picking up these poor immigrants who are there with two babies that have just come to improve their lifestyle and not showing any mercy or compassion and roughing them up and sending them back as if we're some thugs in Gestapo or something. And that's what they're trying to use as the narrative. But quite frankly, Jim, the whole narrative is law enforcement in general is bad. And if we can get you to begin to doubt law enforcement, then maybe some of these crimes and some of these indictments that are going to come down, you might wonder whether they're really accurate or not. Gives them a better chance at escaping justice.
Michael, what do you think the big picture is here? I mean, I look at a guy like George Soros. I don't understand why he's doing what he's doing, especially him, because he grew up in Nazi Germany and he came over here and made a huge, enormous fortune. And now basically he wants to shut the whole thing down so nobody else can. Why do you think these people are doing this?
I think it's just what you just said, Jim. It's power. He's got the wealth. He wants the power. They want to be able to control the populace. I think this is what's so sad. Even if it's a burned out populace, they'd rather control burned out nothing than to be put on the side and not have full control over prosperity. And so they're willing to give up prosperity so that they can control it. Of course, they want to keep their prosperity. But that's what's so sad about this situation. They don't care about the people at all. They just care about their power base and themselves.
I totally agree with you. That's what I think too. I don't know. Maybe I'm just naive. I don't know, Michael. I don't understand. You're right. It seems like they would rather have full control of a hollowed out husk than even partial control of a prosperous society. And that doesn't make any sense to me, but maybe I'm just stupid.
No, you're right on key, Jim, because partial control to them means nothing. As far as they're concerned, it has to be total or it's irrelevant. They don't want you and I to discuss ideas. They want to be able to dictate an idea. And unless they're the top dog, they can't do that. So that's what they're attempting to do.
Yeah, and of course the Republicans and Trump get called Nazis all the time, but that's basically a Nazi behavior and a Nazi tactic. I mean, I hate to say it, but
and I'm glad you raised one thing, Jim. It's frustrating. I keep telling the administration this. We have enough evidence of funding from Soros under RICO that we should be shutting down his whole operation in terms of funding to try to undermine and undercut the U.S. government. And we continue to allow him to do that. The longer we continue to allow him to do it, the bigger the mess we have to clean up.
And don't you think, Michael, that's the people said the same thing about what's going on in Minneapolis? This is such an organized effort that don't RICO laws apply here?
They do. They do. And that's what we're pushing the Department of Justice for. And this is a step further than RICO, Jim. And let me tell you why. The Somalian government is involved with this. We know that for a fact. We know the Somalian ambassador, the Somalian president has a bunch of acknowledged such. And they've set up the organization. They use their representative, Omar, and others. It's not just Omar in Congress, but there are others. Here's the way the system works with our Constitution. We put together the Constitution gives us the framework. And then Congress builds the programs in which to measure the funding. And of course, what they do is Americans don't pay any attention. They've got their own issues that they're looking at from day to day. And so Congress builds these programs so that they're ripe for fraud, and then they cover it. And why would they do that? Because you're going to find as this continues to move forward, Jim, how many people in Congress are on the take as well. This is how they make their money. This is how you go in with Congress with zero. And if you're Elon, you got 40. I understand it was 30. Now it's over 44 million as of today in just a matter of a few years. It's because of the fact that they take the money from the fraudulently from the programs they help put together. And then, of course, once they've got a good chunk, they shift it over to their buddies on Wall Street with insider trading and help finish it off to make it really prosper. And that's what's been going on for decades. And Jim has got to stop.
I hope you don't mind my mentioning this, Michael, but although the Democrats are more organized at it, the Republicans are doing it too.
Oh, there's no question.
Almost everyone in Congress is on the take, it seems.
Yeah, there's no question. There are a few, I don't even like to use the word Republican or Democrats. There are a few statesmen. And when I use few, I'm talking about on one hand. There are very few statesmen left in Congress. The majority of them are just crooks.
Yeah. There was a survey done of congressional staff a couple of years ago, and 90% of the people working for people in Congress or the Senate said 90% of them said the person they were working for was basically in there primarily for himself, which I found that just sad. I just,
to compound and add further credence to what you're saying, Jim, two instances that come to mind very quickly. We know in Ukraine that we've had whistleblowers say that the vast majority of the money we sent over there never got to Ukraine. Some of it got to the politicians in Ukraine who used it for their personal good. But a vast majority of it came back to our politicians here. They've got a list. They've already shared that list, but they're trying to keep it quiet. We found out when we brought Maduro out of Venezuela that one of the whistleblowers in Venezuela said it's the same situation. There's a list of congressional members that are in the pockets of the Venezuelan government before all this happened with picking up Maduro. And we've got that list as well. I was just on a show a little while ago, said, when does the list come out? I said, well, it's the same issue we got with the Epstein list. We know we've got it. It's a matter of fighting people to be able to get it released because they've got strong allies that are trying to cover for them.
I just thought of this very second, Michael. I mean, I do this show 4 nights a week, and it's never occurred to me till this very moment. Do you think that one of the reasons all this fascist behavior is coming down in governments all over the Western world is because of the internet now and the rise of the internet, that things are way more transparent?
Yes.
I mean, I just never thought about that before. It's like, I mean, you're right. We know now that so many programs are basically on the take, or they're siphoning money off to other people. And 10 years ago, I don't think we knew that.
No, you're right. You see, and what surprises me is if I were in that situation, I'd be telling you, Jim, my name's on the list. Put it out there today and show me the evidence you've got. If I know I didn't do anything wrong, we're going to go ahead and get this dispelled right now.
Get it over. Right.
That's amazing to me when everybody's saying, "Oh, let's not talk about that." No, we can't put that out today. We have to make sure their rights are protected, et cetera, et cetera. That's a sad state, Jim.
Yeah. Well, so what do you? I have a guy named Jonathan Lockwood. He's a former Army colonel who comes on the show regularly, specifically to talk about Ukraine. He has a podcast and actually has Ukraine people in Ukraine on it. What do you think about what's going on there? I mean, I'll have to tell you, his thinking is that he thinks that Ukraine has no choice other than to actually win that war outright, because he said he doesn't think the Russians will ever stop. What do you think?
I agree with him there. I don't think the Russians will stop. I think Putin's going to continue to expand his base. He used to be with the KGB, when the time it was the Soviet Union. He understands an empire, and he wants to restructure Russia to have that same thing. I get that. But so Ukraine's only possibility to moving forward was either win the war or strike some kind of a settlement that they can live with. I don't think Ukraine is interested in any kind of a settlement. I do mention this, is that, before it started, there were verified, validated intelligence reports that there were biolabs in Ukraine. There was child sex trafficking in Ukraine. Why Ukraine didn't purge and eliminate those things that were distressing to Russia, instead of giving it the chance to come in and invade, giving it the doorway to come through, is beyond me. But it is what it is. Now they've done that. I know that's been destroyed. But they want to make sure, Russia's going to make sure it doesn't happen again. And so you're right. Russia's going to continue to be the mother hen over it unless they win that war. The
Do you
Ukrainians.
think I've asked a lot of people this question? Do you think that in the last few years, there's no doubt that Putin's ruthless and maybe evil, but do you think he's now crazy? Some people think he's losing his mind.
I don't think he's crazy. I mean, I've had discussions with him. I mean, he's a
Oh, you've like met him or talked with
I
him?
met him, you know. So he's a smart man. He is definitely, don't underestimate him.
Yeah, right. And yeah, you just addressed that too about the fact that, regardless of what's going on here, Ukraine has always been one of the most corrupt governments on earth.
They are. And that's
then-
their problem now. They're trying to convince the rest of the world, support us. And initially, when you had a previous administration, the Biden administration were just as corrupt. They just overlooked it and embraced each other. But now that we're trying to clean out corruption, it's kind of, whoa, why do I want to help somebody who's corrupt, who doesn't acknowledge it and do something about it?
Yeah. And you mentioned also Somalia, which barely has a government. I mean, there's 193 countries on earth, and supposedly Somalia is the single most corrupt one.
Yeah, the sad part about Somalia, Jim, is this. They help with the help of Omar and others. They help put together programs that they could steal billions of dollars from the U.S. Treasury.
Yeah.
They take those billions, they send it over to Somalia. As you're correct, Somalian government is not that big. They don't know what to do with that kind of cash. So they take money for themselves to keep their government in place. The only way they stay in power is they have to pay off all the terrorist organizations that are involved, that are staying in Somalia. And so they take the rest of the money and divvy it up to all the terrorist groups. Well, of course, the terrorist groups are adamantly opposed to us. So we're paying for our own demise. What a shame.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, tell me about what happened in Venezuela. I find this whole thing absolutely fascinating. You've been involved in Army intelligence. The fact that I just read recently that one of the Cuban nationals, security guys that actually lived through this, said that these 20 U.S. Army people killed hundreds of Cubans, and he said it was like basically like extraterrestrials had landed. He said their technology and our weapons were so superior that basically they didn't even know what to do.
Well, I'm glad you raised that question. There's a bigger, broader reason why I'm glad you asked it. Iran is now toying with us, for lack of a better word, and China is trying to come their aid. Iran is now wondering what kind of technology we have and whether we could do the same thing that happened in Venezuela. And I'm going to answer your question, but the same thing that happened in Venezuela, could we do in Iran? And the answer is yes. And they got to be sweating bullets right now, Jim, wondering what our next move is going to be. But on the question that you raised, there has been technology for some time using of radio frequencies. And it's been there. It's never been perfected, or we thought had never been perfected. And in this particular incident, we went in with 20 special force Delta forces. But the amazing part about it was, you need to understand, Venezuela was relying on Russia and China for its defense.
Yes.
China and Russia had sent its most advanced air defense systems. For some reason, they didn't work. We had 152 aircraft that went through at that time. The reason why it didn't work is, this is their quotes now. This is not mine. This is their quotes. Suddenly, in a matter of seconds, all the equipment just shut down.
Yeah, right. I've heard this. Right.
And blackout. I'm not just talking about the people. I'm talking about the equipment. Blackout, total blackout. Then 20 special forces descend, and they have hundreds of Cuban security forces there to protect. It's amazing. He didn't trust his own people. He wanted to have Cubans do it. And so they're there to protect him, and suddenly they're paralyzed.
Yeah.
They can't move. Their body doesn't react. They're vomiting blood. Their blood's coming out of their nose. Their nose bleeds of blood. They're disoriented. They don't know where they're at. And so these special forces are able to eliminate hundreds of them, 20 of them, eliminate hundreds in just a matter of 60 seconds or less.
Yeah.
The firepower was overwhelming.
It's almost science fiction crap.
It is. Then they go in, corner Madera, and before they do anything, U.S. Marshals and FBI agents step out of the crowd.
Yeah.
Because remember, he's a fugitive. It wasn't a military operation. It was
right.
a law enforcement operation.
Right.
And we take him out and bring him back and extradite him to face justice.
So they took him out of his home, and he was in New York City in 7 hours. I find this is just incredible. It's incredible stuff.
And you see, the Ayatollahs have to be wondering the same thing. How good is our technology? You know, in the old days, you would have had to go in with a large contingency of special forces, have some fierce firefights, you know, and hopefully be able to grab your target and pull them out of there before reinforcements got in.
Right.
They just put it into a whole different category that even Russia and Venezuela and China, excuse me, are scratching their head wondering how that occurred.
Well, Michael, tell me, Lockwood says that the Russian army's way overrated, like they're still using donkeys.
You are correct. And that's been demonstrated in Ukraine. I mean, you know, look, I mean, Russia has, you know, portrayed itself as being a great, you know, superpower. And I'm not trying to stomp on Russia at the moment, but I will tell you, you know, actions speak louder than words. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
And Ukraine, yes, had some support from us, you know, support from others. But here's the key, Jim. The Ukrainians didn't know how to use the technology we were trying to afford them anyway. So Russia should not have had that big of a difficulty just powering its way through.
Everybody thought this was going to be over in 2 weeks. I mean, until Lockwood started coming into my show, I still thought Ukraine didn't have a chance. But he's really convinced me that that they've been able to put up I mean, this tiny little country's been able to keep this powerhouse at bay, and it's really kind of amazing.
It is amazing. It does show you just what you're alluding to. I think Russia has been overinflated. They have overrated, and they did a great job for years for directing that to the rest of the world. And of course, you know, being able to benefit by it. But I think they've been called to the mat, and now they're trying to wonder what their next steps are going to be.
So you tell me. I don't think the Chinese army is overrated. It's like I think they steal our technology and then they turn around and use it against us.
I would agree. I don't think the Chinese army is overrated. I do think, however, that their technology is not as keen as they would have us to believe.
No, I don't. I agree with you. I do. I agree.
In other words, let's put it on a layman's term. When you know you buy something made in China, you don't expect it to last long.
Right.
And you know, you expect there to be some difficulties from that. That is just kind of, and I'm not trying to downplay the Chinese, but I think even the Chinese, the people that are actually producing and making these materials, while they smile because they're going to get shot if they don't, I do think, you know, behind the scenes, when the doors are closed, they very much resent the government that they have.
Yeah, I don't have to tell you, they've purged most of their military leadership here in the last couple of weeks. Yeah. And supposedly, it's like I heard that the main general, I just read this morning, was he was purged because he supposedly leaked information to the West. That might just be bullshit. It might just be because Jesus didn't want him there at all, but I don't know.
I think it's more a little bit of a BS there. I think it's more of a cover story.
Right.
You know, I mean, here it's the same thing that we just alluded to with Venezuela. You know, why didn't Maduro have his own people, trusted people supporting? Why did he go to Cuba? Because when you have that mindset, you don't trust anybody.
Right.
And so, you know, China's got that mindset. So I'll trust you for today, but tomorrow, Jim, it's a different story. You know, I'll have to talk again tomorrow whether I trust you tomorrow or not. That's just how they operate.
Do you think they're going to try to take Taiwan?
I think that was their goal. I think after what happened in Venezuela with the technology and all, I think they're having to reassess. They haven't decided yay or nay, Jim, and I'll tell you why. They have sent, you know, we've seen they have sent their advanced air defense forces to Iran now to try to shore up Iran's administration. And that chapter has not been finally played out yet. I think they're waiting to see what comes down there. If America goes in and we do what we did in Venezuela and China gets handed its tail in again, that will pretty much give them a strong indication that Taiwan may be an overreach.
Well, I personally don't see this doing this during Trump's tenure. I mean, I just think Trump is one of the few presidents that actually scares them. So
yeah, you're exactly right.
Which is really interesting, Mike, when you start to think about this. He scares the American Congress too, but that's because he's actually like doing shit people should do. I mean, I don't understand this. How stupid can these people be? This whole like the Greenland thing. No, he's not going to invade. They're not going to invade Greenland, you know. But everyone got got their in a bundle. I mean, God.
He's good at what he does. Don't need to invade Greenland. We got everything what we wanted and then some.
Yeah, right. I know. It's like, and he does this over and over again, and like people don't seem to learn. It's like, I mean, are there people in Congress just stupid? I mean, I hate to say it. I'm starting to think they are, but
They are. I think what scares them the most. I have been telling the administration this, that Mr. President, we are deeply appreciative of what we're doing on a global standpoint. We are delivering freedom to Venezuela, in the process of delivering freedom to Iran. And what are we freeing them? We're freeing them from tyranny. And what is that tyranny? That tyranny is corruption. But unfortunately, America is probably the most corrupt country in the world. So I've made the question to the administration, when are we going to dedicate all of our resources to freeing the American people from the tyranny of the corruption we have in this country? It's time, Mr. President. It's time that we focus solely on America and freeing the American people from the tyranny. What tyranny is that? Corrupt Congress, a corrupt judicial system. Our judicial system, Jim, is corrupt all the way to the Supreme Court. Yeah. I mean, we have corruption within the executive branches. We're still within, federal agencies, state agencies, local agencies. Look what's going on in Minnesota. There is so much corruption that you and I would have to be on the air 24/7 for the next week just to be able to list it all. It's time that we go on ahead and do something about it. The American people are very appreciative, in my opinion, that we have exposed it. But now they've come to the next stage. Don't tell me about anything else till you do what you know about what you already got out there to begin with. And we have not done a very good job, Jim, of holding people accountable to this point.
Yeah, well, I do have to take slight issue with you, Michael. I would say that 55% of the American public is appreciative of this. The other 45, Trump derangement syndrome is a very real thing. And it's like, this is a psychological thing, not a political thing. I stopped to think that maybe people hate his guts because he's actually legitimately accomplished and also an outsider as far as politics is concerned. Do you have the president's ear personally, Michael?
Let's just say that we have communication.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. All right. So the president, of course, went to Davos recently and did the same thing and basically tore the place up. And I just find this amazing that people are just surprised at this. I mean, this guy's been around for 10 years now. What do you think he's gonna? Why would he do anything different? It's working for him.
I agree with you, Jim. And I think it's because of the fact the mainstream media is so concerned. And why is the mainstream media so concerned? They're part of this corruption, Jim. You go back to the administration. How much money of your and I money, our tax dollars? How much money have we paid them? Yeah. To do not journalism, but to do personal opinions, promote liberal causes, et cetera, et cetera. They're about as corrupt as they come. They don't want that exposed either. So they're using all their resources to try to paint the graphics and the narrative that we have a crazy president, blah, 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 blah. And American people, like you said, I will agree. Let me adjust that statement. Not all the American people, but I do think there's still the majority of the American people that see through.
Right.
But there is a large contingency, and we would be naive to not give them credit. You don't want to underestimate your adversary.
No.
There's a larger contingency than what we'd like to acknowledge. And you wonder why? How did it get to this point, Jim? Well, look at what they did to the education system for the last 50 years. I mean, they took it over, our public educational system. They didn't teach them anything about education. They indoctrinated them. They, taught them nothing but how to. America's bad, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's no wonder why we have people that don't know what they think anymore.
Michael, it was William Ayers 40 years ago who went from being a terrorist to a college professor, which I still find absolutely amazing. But he said, we're going to take over the country through your children. He said that 40 years ago,
And they've come pretty darn close to it.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think of Mamdani, excuse me, and everyone mispronounces his name in New York City? What do you think about what's going on there?
I think Mamdani, not only is he a communist, I think he's a crazy communist, but I think that what he is attempting to do, he doesn't have the authority. What is scary to me is that if he did have the authority, that we would have enough people to elect him to allow him to make those kind of changes that are totally communistic changes. Everything's free. Government owns it all. You have no rights. You don't
Right.
get to own property anymore. I mean, the list goes on and on. He won't be able to accomplish that. But it's up to us, Jim, to make sure that his philosophy, his ideology is thoroughly known by the New York City and by its residents. I believe he wrote in, kind of like a lot of them do. They pad those elections. They know how to steal elections. And I'll just be blunt. They do steal elections.
Oh, they do.
And they
Absolutely.
do it, especially when there's a low voter turnout.
Right.
And he saw a key opportunity. He took it, and he won. But I think if at the end of the day, people are going to realize who he is, and this will be a one-termer, and he won't be able to succeed to get anything accomplished.
Yeah, I had a person on the show who was saying that the reason so many young people in New York voted for him, and this also, and what I was talking about with this guy is that we are also talking about anti-Semitism, and I was saying I never thought this would rear its ugly head ever again. But he said the younger people in America are so divorced from what happened in World War II, both the Holocaust and also just communism in general, that they think they're making it up all over again. And of course, communism looks great on paper.
No question it does. And but Jim, I have to put the blame and spread it out to everywhere it goes. We are partly responsible for allowing that to happen by allowing our education system to be taken over and
Yeah,
doing nothing about it.
right. Basically it's a giant circle jerk. It all comes around.
It
Right.
really does.
Yeah.
One of the things I tell, and I get criticized for this, but I love criticism. So let me go ahead and say it again, is I really feel like our churches let us down. Our churches became social clubs. They didn't become the moral compass for this country anymore. We allowed them to take over our educational system. We allowed to throw out any values or any morals, within our society. And look what we got. And we're almost lost the country altogether because of it. We're fighting for our very survival at the moment.
All right. So you tell me if I'm just a Pollyanna here, but I agree with you. It's churches have become social clubs, but that's better than nothing, isn't it? It's better than people not going. I don't know.
Uh, well, yes and no. Let me tell you why I say yes and no, Jim.
Yeah.
Yes, it's good to have, them continuing to realize there needs to be something more. There needs to be values and faith. But when they're looking for something and they're not given it, sometimes it turns them to the point they don't think it exists. And that's what my concern is.
Yeah. I know we need there's this thing going on in the Supreme Court right now. I don't know if you've seen this. They're going to have a giant thing about the putting the Ten Commandments in schools. And I don't have any problem with this, is because it's just like it's like somebody said. One of the governors said it's the original law.
Right, right.
It's like all laws come from that, and at least in Western society.
You're exactly right. And from my position, Jim, they don't have to call it the Ten Commandments. They're the laws of the land is all what I care. I mean, it's still the law of the land. You're not supposed to shoot and kill somebody. I mean, unless it's self-defense. Still the law of the land that you shouldn't be cheating, you shouldn't be stealing, you shouldn't be lying. There are things that are just basic values, and it's what happened in our educational societies when we had the rulings that we have to have a separation between church and state. Well, they had a different idea about what that is than the majority of Americans do, I think. When they thought separation of church and state, you couldn't have anything that represented faith because that would be church. And so they went into our educational system. You can't talk about whether it's right or wrong because that's based on faith, right or wrong. So we can't do that. So everything's just kind of immoral. There is no right or wrong. There is no authority. There is no respect for authority or for life. And guess what you get after doing that with our young people for a while? You get what we have today.
Yeah. What do you think about young people right now, Michael?
I think they're actually changing. I think this is what's the exciting thing is coming for this country. I see a vast movement among our young people that they realize the fallacy of what's been occurring over the last generations. They see that they're confused. They have no purpose in life. They have no sense of destiny. They have no sense of value. And so when they get depressed and they go to a doctor, instead of dealing with the issue, let's find out what your purpose in life is and get you to do something about it. What ends up happening is then kind of like, I'm just give you a bottle of pills. Well, that doesn't do anything. It just makes matters worse.
Right.
So they're totally disgusted with what they've seen happen in the past. They're searching for something different. And I believe that that's why they're coming back to conservative values.
That's also a lot of people pointed that out about some of the protesters here in Minneapolis. A lot of these people really, they don't have a purpose, so they think this is a purpose. I mean the ones who aren't paid. I mean,
Well, even the ones that are paid, they for some reason they're so skewed because well, obviously we've been talking about education. They literally believe that they're saving democracy.
yeah, I know.
How do you save democracy by allowing a rapist or murderers to stay on the street? I
I
don't
don't.
understand.
I don't either. I don't understand it. It's completely the bizarre world to me. I don't understand it at all. I'm sitting here. Although I have to tell you, it's like other than a couple pockets in the city is not disrupted at all. I mean, I
Right.
haven't had any problem getting around or going to the grocery store or any of that stuff. You wouldn't even know us. You
Yeah,
look, and you talked about this before, and this is a real big thing with me because I guess I'm kind of part of the media here. I expect politicians to lie. I don't expect the news media to lie. That's what
correct.
bothers me. And they lie constantly. And it just bugs the shit out of me. It really does. It's like, that's my big thing. Yeah, politicians are always going to lie. I have to tell you, Michael, I don't have sitting politicians on the show because all they do is lie. Although they will always say whatever it takes to get them reelected. That's all they care about.
That's the sad part about it. Unless you realize that and you're looking for it as an entertainment, other than that, it's not worth much.
Right. Look, I want to close with this, Michael. What do you think of AI and law enforcement? How do you think that's going to go?
Very cautiously to begin with, because what I have seen is AI. You have to understand AI has its own concepts because the people that created AI have their own values and concepts, and it's reflective of that. And so, if one has the impression that AI is objective and neutral, you haven't done enough research. So you have to be careful with where AI is coming from because of the way it was programmed. It is going to have a major role for us in the future. I think not just AI, I think robotics is going to have it as well. I have seen the development, I've witnessed the development of the robotic industry. And, when they talked about the old RoboCop, you remember those movies from a while back?
Right. I was going to bring that up.
We're
Yeah.
pretty close to that. In fact, quite frankly, I'm not going to say we're pretty close. We're actually already there.
Yeah.
The question is, will society accept that? I get that AI and robotics and all can do a lot of positive, but boy, it's putting a lot of power in something that you remember somebody had to make it and somebody instilled its value system within it. It didn't just make itself. That's what's concerning.
Right.
And you're giving it such power, Jim, that you can't control it. If it decides to go rogue, we're in a mess.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, Michael. It's already kind of gone rogue.
They've
These companies a few weeks ago, they asked their and this all happened across the industry pretty much at the same time. They get their machines to shut down because they asked them to shut down, and all of a sudden they started saying no. I don't know if you're aware of that. That happened like
I had heard that
within a week.
So you're right. I mean, that validates what we're saying, and that's just a tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to show you a website here. This is Invest USA. This is your website at investusa.com. You guys are doing great work. 7 million people have donated money for 17,000 vests to be distributed across the United States. And how long you been doing this? Is it 32 years?
32 years. We started in 1993.
Yeah. Michael, I hope you'll come back. I love talking to you.
We'd love to do it, Jim. We got a bunch of other projects to discuss. We've got a graphic novel that we're fixing to unveil to try to get our young people to be re-engaged with public service, with law enforcement, and first responders. We got a movie coming out. It's called, Permission Denied. It's going to be by one of the major directors. It's going to be, definitely recognize all the actors.
Oh, that's fantastic. Whenever you have anything to announce at all, make certain to tell your publicist, and we'll put you on. Okay.
We'll look forward to it. So we got a lot to do, but thank you for what you do. Let me end by saying this, Jim. Thank you for what you're doing. Because if it weren't people like you to express the truth of what's going on, America would never know. And the truth is the only thing that'll set you free.
I'm trying, but I like to do it through people like you. So I appreciate what you're doing too, very much. You take care.
God bless you. God bless America. We'll look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Thanks. Thanks to Michael Letts there for joining us. Fascinating guy. God, I'm lucky I get to talk to so many interesting people. And my God, he knows a lot of people. Holy Christ. At any rate, it's the bedtime news for Monday night, January 26th. Yes, we've renamed this segment. I'll talk about it at the end. So, of course, we're here in Minneapolis. So I feel compelled that I have to talk about this, about what's been going on here with the riots and such. David Strom and the people at our friends at Hot Air reported this afternoon, this is about maybe 5 or 6 o'clock, about the fact that Trump and Waltz have apparently talked on the phone. Trump called Waltz. And Trump said it was a very positive phone call. And also, Waltz said that too, separately, to the press. He said it was very, maybe Trump said that they're kind of on the same page here. So we'll see. Now, Strom, our friend David Strom, he doubts that anything will come of this not because Waltz doesn't want to. He thinks Waltz does, and I do too. I think Waltz wants to end this, but Waltz is under such pressure from the crazy left people, not only in the Minnesota but nationwide, that he doesn't think Strom doesn't think that Waltz will be able to get away with settling it. And the settlement is very simple. What Trump wants, what they've always wanted, was simply for the Minneapolis Police Department to turn over whatever illegal alien criminals they have to ICE. That's it. That's the only reason they went into Minneapolis. And they have told Minneapolis this over and over again, that you give us the people that you arrest that are illegal aliens, and that's all we want. Because just the fact they've been arrested means they're probably criminals. So, and this is another thing you have to understand too, that people don't understand this. Every single person that ICE has tried to track down in Minneapolis, anywhere in the United States, they have a warrant for. They're not just looking for quote unquote illegal aliens. They aren't. They're looking for specific people that have committed crimes. They've been very, very good at. The last time figure I heard is that during this sweep in Minneapolis, they have picked up 2,500 criminals. Nationwide, I can't remember where I read this today. I tried to find this and then I couldn't. But nationwide, supposedly, ICE has admitted to making about 170 quote unquote mistakes where they've picked up people that turned out not to be the people they were looking for. And they've subsequently let them go. But when you consider the fact that so far ICE has arrested 600,000 people, the numbers are really staggering. And somebody did the math, about 170 is like 0.00001% of the total. Of course they're going to make mistakes. It's bound to happen. But that's all that's basically what Trump wants. He said, if you give us the people that you have in custody already, so we don't have to go back out on the street and find them, we're good. We'll leave. That might work for Waltz, but like I said, it's not going to work for the other crowd because as it's coming out today, a guy named Cam Higby, a right-wing reporter, basically, he figured out how all these people are communicating. They're using encrypted signal chats, and I don't know how he busted into that because they are encrypted, but he did. And there's screenshots all over the place of these chats. This is a highly organized process. Organized by people maybe not even from Minnesota, organized on a nationwide level. And then you have to understand too, some of these organizations now have been very brazen about the fact they've come out and openly said their goal is to take over the American government. That's the federal government. That's their goal, not the Minnesota government, the federal government. That's what they want to do. Now that's the casebook text definition of insurrection. That's exactly what insurrection is. So the other thing that Waltz might be worried about, and Fry should be too, and that is there's laws against that. And especially here in the United States internally, there's the RICO clause, which is which is for people who conspire to take over the federal government or harm the federal government in any way. And it's pretty broad. Like there's a rumor going around. I have no substantiation for this, and I haven't been able to find anybody else who has either. Hot Air said they haven't either, about the fact that Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan in Minnesota is actually one of the administrators of one of these chat groups. Now, if there was a RICO charge, she would get arrested. And so would Waltz and Fry too. And I don't, Waltz is kind of a mamby-pamby sort of guy. I don't think that scares the crap out of him, actually. And on top of that, he's still up on up for these all this fraud that's going on with the Somali daycares. Now, this thing with Mr. Preddy, this nurse that got killed. First of all, I'm not even going to comment on what actually happened because I can't tell. This is way more obscure from the videos than what happened to Renee Good, as far as I'm not even going to throw my hat in here. I'm not, but it's been pointed out that he was shot basically one door down from a Somali healthcare operation. That building this is on, if you know Minneapolis, it was on 25th and Nicollet. And that building is 11,000 square feet, and there's apparently 184 healthcare providers registered operating out of that building, even though the building seems to be empty. If this guy wasn't killed, this would have been hilarious, about the fact that basically the very reason, in some ways, that these riots are going on is to cover up for this fraud that happened literally right under their noses, literally. And one of the people who has a registered healthcare facility in that building is the same guy who owned the Leering Center, which I think was at 41st and Nicollet. I'm not sure if I don't know exactly. Can't remember the address, but I mean, some of the stuff you couldn't make up. And then there's who comes on my show last week? Oh man, hold on, I gotta look just a second because this is actually important. It was Nils Grevelius who said that described some of the protesters as useful idiots, and they're being manipulated basically, and they don't even realize it. They don't. They're being sent out, and their lives have been put in danger so that a bunch of people behind the scenes can maybe apparently overthrow the federal government. And if they try, this is not going to go well. Gets back to what Michael Lutz was saying in the interview about going into Venezuela, and what I had heard too, and that is the way we got Maduro out of that compound in Venezuela is almost like science fiction shit. It's unbelievable. So 20 American Special Forces guys killed, hundreds of security apparatus, Prachniks, whatever, for Maduro. And like Let's was saying, they said that the descriptions were almost, these guys couldn't believe it. It was like they were attacked by extraterrestrials. They couldn't move. They were paralyzed. They started vomiting blood. They don't know why. This thing before anybody was even shot. So, you're going to, at this point, the federal government, our armed services have way, way more striking power than anybody even knows. And this is even one of the reasons. Now, today there was a report that Khomeini, the Iranian supreme leader, has gone underground in hiding, because I just find it hilarious when these 2-bit countries they threaten the United States. It's like, really? You know what's coming, right? And they do. That's the thing. They don't. No one has any defense for this. Trump is right. We have right now by far the most lethal fighting force in the world. No doubt about it. I mean, we completely outclass Russia. The only people who could even hold a candle to us are China. And yet, the thing with China is they don't have any imagination. They're basically they steal our technology. That's what they do, and that's because of their culture. They're not they are not programmed to think individually. They can't. So this whole thing is getting. On the other hand, I should bring this out too, and that is about the Preddy shooting. A lot of people, even Republicans, are now complaining about the way DHS and Christy Nome handled this, because not everybody in the crowd, you know, she is stood up at the podium and said that this pretty guy, and she says this about Renee, were domestic terrorists. No, they weren't. There's just goofballs in the crowd. Now, Preddy had a gun. That doesn't mean he should have been shot. That's the thing. It's like this is way more nefarious, ambiguous than what happened with Renee Good. Where I still contend, my looking at that footage, my opinion is that Good did not mean to hit that officer, because I don't even think she saw him. That whole thing happened in way less than a second, maybe even half a second. I don't think she saw the officer. I think she was trying to escape and she hit him. That's what happened. And of course, if you're going to hit a guy with a car, and I don't, he will almost certainly get off. This thing with the Preddy shooting is much more ambiguous. There's a chance that there will be the ramifications for some of the ICE personnel and the border personnel here, but still, he's not a domestic terrorist. Now, whether he should have come to a riot with a gun, well, then the other thing is, should he have come to a riot anyway? And that's the thing. They're not even, these aren't protesters anymore. They're rioters. But I was reading Dana Lash's newsletter today, and she said, I don't know if she said this on the air in her show. I didn't hear it, but in her newsletter, she said, she has a gun permit, and she says she has gone to protest with guns many times. But of course, she didn't pull her gun out. Of course, that's the thing. There's no real evidence even that Preddy did. I don't know. I do think that if push comes to shove, the benefit of the doubt should be given to the officers. I do think that, but who knows? So the other thing is, these people are kind of they're relating how stupid they are, in the sense that on Saturday, J.D. Vance came to town here, gave a speech, and then that night, hundreds of protesters went to his hotel and banged drums and whistles all night long, even though he was not there. He went back to Washington right after the speech. And they spent all night in the cold, and it has been extremely cold here. We've had nights where they've been 18, 20 below. That's the temperature, not the wind chill. And these people stood outside, and they did this all night long for nothing. Other things have come out on this too, and that is, there's a group, and I'm sorry, I did not write down their name. There's a group that is highly implied. They have not admitted to it, and I think for legal reasons, but they've highly implied that they have dressed up as ICE personnel and driven ICE-type SUVs to lure the crowds away from the real ICE personnel. And apparently it's worked. It's worked. They have had crowds following them all over the place, and they aren't ICE. So, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. What the heck? And of course, it should be I don't think you'll hear this in the mainstream news, but maybe you've heard this. One of the protesters, one of the rioters, bit one of the ICE officers' fingers off. That's fun too. That's great. Oh, wow. I don't know what to make of this. I just think, I look back and I think I have I've said this. Well, here, Larry Elder wrote a piece this weekend in his syndicated column, and he said that the problem with the midterms, if you want to call it a problem, affordability will not be the issue. The issue will be Trump derangement syndrome. And I think he's right. These people, they hate Trump so much. At this point, their hatred is extreme. It's completely irrational. They don't know why they hate him. They don't know what they hate. They don't know what they're doing. It's like, what do they think they're going to accomplish by trying to stop ICE here? Which isn't, ICE has an completely perfectly legal reason to be here. and they're collecting criminals. So what are you trying to do? You're pro criminals? Is that the deal? But yeah, I'm astonished, and I've said this before that I'm starting to think there's about a quarter of the population of the United States that's literally going crazy. It's mass psychosis, and I don't understand what's causing it. I don't think it's just Trump derangement syndrome, but we have people acting extremely irrationally. Now, maybe that's because in this age of the internet and social media, where everything's maybe now we know people are acting irrationally. Maybe they've always been this way, and this is this kind of a congealing moment for them. I don't know. But here's proof that the internet's crazy. There's this rumor going around on social media that on August 12th at 9:33 a.m. Eastern Time, the Earth is going to lose gravity for 7 seconds. I'm not making that up. That's actually going around. There are people who actually think this. Now, let me explain to you a little bit about physics. We talk a lot about science on this show. I'm a big UFO person because I think it's kind of that. I think the evidence for that is grounded in science. So the Earth is not going to lose gravity. It's impossible. It's literally impossible because gravity has to do with the weight and mass of the planet, and the planet is not going to lose any weight or mass for 7 seconds. It's not going to. This is not going to happen. And yet there's people that believe this. I mean, I can tell you to prove to you to your blue in the face that this is impossible to happen. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be floating around for 7 seconds. Not going to happen. But here's something that might happen, and that is there's a woman with the former head of economics for the Bank of England is warning the Bank of England and the UK government that if and when disclosure of the alien presence on Earth happens, that it might send the markets collapsing. And it might. And I've said that too. This has been my problem with this whole thing. Yes, I'm very, very pro about the fact that I've told you over and over again, and whether you believe me is beside kind of the point, because it's just a fact at this point. The aliens are here. They're coming here. It is. And so she's talking about the fact there's a lot of people. Now, there's been this, the betting market on Polymarket. In December, there was a huge thing about the fact that they thought that Trump was going to actually reveal this before the end of the year. I didn't. And there's a lot of people thinking this might be true, that was based on insider information, that somebody had some insider information. Maybe that's true, maybe or not. It would not be in Trump's interest to do it in December. I'll tell you when I think he might do it, and that is in December of 28 or January 29, just before he's ready to leave office. Then he might do it, because I don't think Trump's ego can resist it. The president that announces this will go down in history forever. Like literally 2,000 years from now, you'll know who Donald Trump is. That's going to happen. Just like we kind of know who Pontius Pilate is. And I don't know if you saw this, there was a thing recently about the fact that based on my biblical research, I always thought Pontius Pilate was a real person, but apparently just recently they actually confirmed that definitively, that Pontius Pilate was a real person, and he was the head of Jerusalem when Jesus got killed. And so we still know his name, and 2,000 years from now, if Donald Trump makes this announcement, we'll know who Donald Trump is too. And I don't think Donald Trump can resist that. I don't. And so there's people all over the place who said, the whistleblowers who said they know the president's been briefed on this. And at this point, I would not surprise me at all. Trump has said publicly that, his quote is, "I don't believe in this stuff." That doesn't mean anything. And if anything, Donald Trump's a realist. Whether he believes it or not, if it's true, if he's seen the evidence, he's going to buy it. Because there's so much evidence. I mean, I can't go on. I can't tell you enough. There's so much evidence for this. It's mind-boggling. And that's even if you discount 95% of it, which you should, because most of it's bullshit. Most of it's either people lying or people who are mistaken or whatever. It's just that most of it's crap. But even the 5% that's left is so mountainous that there's no doubt at this point that extraterrestrials are coming to Earth. No doubt. Anyway, but this woman, the former head of economics for the banking, and she's right. This has been my problem too. I'm here talking about this. I'm talking about this online, but I'm not the president. You know, if somebody makes an official announcement, there could be real grave uh, consequences to this. Excuse me. And this has been my problem the entire time, is that I don't know if we should do this. I don't. And I've said this before in previous broadcasts. The late great Jazz Shaw, my friend who used to come on the show regularly, the UFO writer for the debrief. Oh, sorry about that. That's kind of gross. The debrief, that's the only thing him and I ever really disagreed on, because I always said that it's not. He said, well, the American public can handle this, and that might be true, but I don't know if the world can. If we announce it to the American public, we announce it to the world. We already have a problem in the fact. This gets back to what Let's and I were talking about the fact that there's cultures in the United States, whole countries that are basically 200 years behind us. Well, how are they going to react to that? I don't know. I think Christianity can survive it, and the Pope and the Vatican seems to have made a bet on this. They've kind of been leading the issue. They talk about this regularly about extraterrestrials, and they have no reason to other than to hedge their bets. They want to make certain people understand that just because people from other planets exist doesn't mean Jesus didn't save the world. It doesn't, and they're right. It doesn't. It doesn't really negate your religion if that's what you're into at all. But I don't know how that plays on Islam. I don't, or Hinduism. I have no idea. I don't, and it might not go well. And in that vein, when did this happen? Last Tuesday, James Fox, the filmmaker on ufology, he gave a news conference at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., and it was mostly about what's called the 1996 Virginia, Brazil incident, which is kind of the Brazil's version of Roswell. And it involves the fact that apparently in Virginia in 1996, I think it was March, apparently an extraterrestrial craft crashed and 4 aliens got out and started running around. As there's once again, as in some of these cases, there's numerous witnesses. There's a police officer who said he captured one of the aliens and actually physically grabbed him, and ended up dying, apparently ostensibly from a virus he got from the alien. Supposedly, there's a doctor now who dealt with one of the live aliens, who said he couldn't keep it to himself anymore after 30 years. He said he had to tell somebody. So he finally came out. This guy's been known for a long time. We never talk about it, but he finally came out and said, yeah, that he telepathically communicated with this alien that he was examining. And there are 3 young girls around the age of 10. They're adults now. They said they saw one cowering in a vacant lot in the town. This goes on and on. And so, yes, Fox gave a press conference. And I don't know if you know this, if you've been following this. There's been several press conferences, maybe 3 or 4. I'm kind of off the top of my head, that have been held at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. to make various pronouncements about and announcements about the alien agenda. That's been in the past. So it's kind of like there's almost now this, like, if you have a major announcement, this is where you want to go. But there's too many witnesses, just too many. So yeah, you can tell me I'm crazy. That's fine. I'm good with it. You're wrong. That's all I'm going to tell you. You're wrong. They're here. Okay. And finally, I want to address the name of this segment. We changed it. It used to be the Gymcast, and then now we changed it briefly, like from 1 week to the At Night News. And then I said, no, I'm going to change it to the Bedtime News. It's the Bedtime News. And there's some origin story to this. I need to explain this for the people who are not from Minneapolis. One of the most famous news anchors in America during the 60s, 70s, 80s was a guy named Dave Moore. He did the news here at WCCO in Minneapolis. Matter of fact, the famous story about Moore is that he got the job in 1957 when television was barely running, because Walter Cronkite didn't want it. So subsequently, supposedly, Moore was so good at this, and he was. I mean, he's still the best news anchor I've ever seen. He was so good at this that supposedly when Cronkite took the job at CBS News, him and Severide would sit in his office and watch tapes of Moore on a regular basis just to marvel how good he was at it. And supposedly also, this is just a rumor, I don't know if this is true, when Cronkite stepped down and Rather got the job, they offered the job to Dave Moore first, and he turned it down, supposedly. So at any rate, one of the things about Moore that Moore was ridiculously funny. He was not a journalist. He was a trained actor. He was trained as an actor, which is probably one of the reasons he was so good at being a news anchor. And he did a show I think it was from 63 to 71, a Saturday night show here in Minneapolis called The Bedtime News. I'm getting a little cracked up here because I'll tell you why in a minute. I'm in a little trouble. And it was a half-hour comedy show they did late at night on Saturday nights, and him and the staff of the station, and Moore basically led it, and it was a satire on. It was a satirical version of the nightly newscast, and it was fantastic. It was hilarious. Anyway, 1986, I came back to town, and I decided, I wanted to do something interesting. So I thought, well, maybe we should revive the bedtime news. So I called Dave Moore. Actually, I sent him a letter. He called me back. I had several conversations with him about this. And I said, would you mind if we redid this? And he said, no. He said, no, please do. And he said, I don't know where it is. I have it somewhere. He sent me a letter giving me formal permission to use the title. And I never did do it then. We never did do it. But I'm doing it now. Good night, Dave Moore. Oh, well, first of all, I should tell you, okay, so as of the other 3 weeks this month, we're taking Tuesday and Wednesday night off. Our next show's on Thursday. I don't know who the guest is going to be yet. I haven't confirmed it, but we'll have one. And then next Monday, that's February 2nd, is it? Nils Gravelis is coming back because we had to cut his visit short. For the first 2 weeks of February, we might only do 2 shows a week too. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. I got a lot going on here, and I got some personal stuff I'm dealing with. So we might extend this a couple more weeks. But I'm looking forward to getting back to 4 nights a week because, believe it or not, I like doing this. I do. I like. So with Dave Moore in mind, this is the bedtime news signing off. Good night, Dave Moore, wherever you are. Good night, Uncle Donnie, wherever you are, and good night to you, wherever you may be. So we'll see you on Thursday, everybody. We'll see you Thursday night. Take care. Thanks.